Yeah, we might as well. So I'll call the meeting to order at 10:07 a.m. Tuesday. President Bill McGowan, Wayne Sawchuk, John Beck, Lisa McGonigal, and Dan Coughlin, and Rod Hoffman, his attorney, is also present. So let's see what Lisa's doing here. Yeah, I'm not, as sort of agenda, I'm not sure what exactly we want to talk about with CJC. The ball's sort of in their court since we've given them our updated information. So as soon as they get cooking, we can start this off.
They had asked for even more background information than what Dan had in his letter. Michelle did give me her original calculations, I guess, or her compilation. But I have not forwarded that to them based on your email Friday, Bill. We just hold off and wait.
Yeah, I wanted to just see what they're looking at and what direction they're going at. So, because I mean,
so if they're looking for that, I think I have that available.
Okay. But they did get the meeting minutes.
Yes.
Okay.
Which meeting minutes are you referring to, Bill?
There's one, I think it was on the 9th of January, where the applicant was recorded saying that he would pay for the sewer connection and the pipe.
Oh, yeah, I have some meeting minutes from January 3, 2019.
Yeah, it might be that too. Yeah.
That's it.
Where he was quoted as saying 21,000 gallons per day seasonally, which is essentially identical with the numbers contained in Dan's workup.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think things have changed that much, to be honest. So
I think he outlined the seasonal number up to 40,000 actually.
I'm sorry, Dan?
I believe the seasonal number he had was 40,000 gallons per day at that time.
Yes.
Hi, all. It's Jeff again. Thank you for your patience. Donald's trying to connect in. He's having difficulty as well. I was trying to walk him through the number, but I have him on my cell phone as well as kind of a fail-safe. So I don't want to waste anybody's time. So if you want to commence the meeting while he continues to try to loop in, that'll be fine by me.
yeah, Jeff, what I was just saying a bit ago is that I think with the materials that we've sent to you, that we are just waiting to hear from you what your client wants to do and what the next steps are, basically.
Okay, if I can give you a little bit more of a backdrop, because I thought I heard you speaking with Rod as to what Rod was.
Yep.
Just want to make sure I get this on speaker. Okay, so thank you for providing the letter of what I think it was June 17th. It was helpful, and we're still in the process of reviewing it. We did ask for additional information from Rod. Essentially, what we were looking at on the water data, first and foremost, we had requested the raw data, and Dan did a good job of providing in his letter kind of a breakdown of each and every bill and the water meeting reads. Where we were going with that bill was the data that you guys supplied or that you have goes back 10 years, and it includes the summer months. But in the summer months, the data reflects irrigation, a significant amount of irrigation. And as we go back and look at the numbers from the last 10 years, and if we were to apply the just October through March readings, we get a much different number than what was arrived at by Dan in his calculation in the June 17th letter. For instance, the difference is for 380 Chief Justice for the 10-year period for all 12 months, the figure that was provided was 8,689 gallons. Whereas if you were to just include during that same period, October through March, you get a much different average of 2,465 gallons. And so that's about a 72% difference. And so I'm wondering if the commission would be open to considering that variant in determining or in its analysis as to water usage when you look at that data point. That's the first issue that we requested and where we were going with that. The second is that we were looking for confirmation that that because after we hung up the phone after your last meeting, Attorney Nyland, myself, and Donald all seemed to have a different take on how wed you were to this concept of expecting that we would pay for the extension and the connection / privilege without any set off, except for the reimbursement as people might tie in the future. And what we received in response was the minutes from your meeting in January of 2019. Now, if the board recalls, back in January of 2019, we were at a very different place than we are now with respect to what was being proposed. At that time, we were proposing to run a line over town property, which was in between the sewer line and Mr. Stasko's property. That was not in the layout of Route 3A, and it didn't go up to the pump station or anything to that effect. That proposal was withdrawn by Mr. Stasko as it became apparent that the Stewart commissioners would not support that proposal, or maybe the selectmen would not support it at town meeting because it required a wetland crossing. And so that's why that was pulled. We are now in 2020 and the concept is much different. And so what we're proposing for the board is not that we would pay for the extension and the privilege, because in fact, the board's entire policy has changed since then as well. You have a new commercial policy. And so what our proposal is, and always has been for the last few months, is to pay up front for the extension of the line. And then we recognize that we have to pay a privilege fee. And the concept would be some kind of set off for some of the costs to construct the line. And that's what we've been proposing for the board to consider on this go around. Additionally, the third issue or item that was requested since the last meeting came from Attorney Nyland, who I don't believe is with us today on this call. And what he was looking at was you have an EDU cost of $37,500 per EDU. And he's trying to figure out how that cost was arrived at. What portion of it goes, for instance, towards capital, bonding, and future O&M, versus what portion of that cost is for the privilege of actually using the sewer. And that information wasn't set out, and it's in your commercial connection policy. And we believe that that might be helpful to us in analyzing and responding to your letter. And finally, I wanted to not iterate, that's the wrong word. I wanted to impart on the commission that there is this affordable housing component that we're watching. And in order for the affordable housing inventory to be counted for the town's affordable housing, in order for these units to be counted, the residents must be occupied by the end of the year, is what we're being told by our consultant, and is what she told to the ZBA. So I just, that particular issue is a ball that we're keeping our eye on, because the alternative is that if we're not occupied by then, what is going to happen is that it's going to set the town's inventory in a manner that in all likelihood would allow other types of affordable housing to come forward to the town in the form of 40Bs. So I just wanted to kind of let you know that we're looking at that deadline and trying to work towards that deadline. And as soon as we get this data from you, we should be able to respond fairly quickly. And then we would know whether we have, a project or not that has sewer or not at that juncture.
Well, I'll speak for myself, and I'll ask John and Wayne to add in here, but I believe you've got everything to make a decision based on what we believe we have done through the due diligence for this applicant for the past 2 years. I think, maybe not that I think, but I understand your position on the affordable housing piece. This line in the sand that it has to be done by the end of the year is the first I've heard of it, and it sounds to me as that it is a lever, if not induce, or some way of trying to force us to make a decision, which we already have, and you have a copy of that. Simply, the applicant is trying to negotiate with us, and we, as we said, we're very open to the payment terms and all of that. The connection down 3A is something that the sewer board nor the town of Cohasset started or warranted. And we're trying to help the guy out. Now, negotiations can only go so far. We have, as you know, certain rules, and the EDU is the EDU. I think we could go through and macerate this thing forever. And basically what you want us to do, if I can go short words, is to lower the acquisition price or the construction price or whatever. Am I right?
Well, if that's how you interpret it, we're trying to avoid having to pay for the line as well as the connection and privilege fee on top of that, because in an ordinary situation, the line would already be there for somebody to connect into. And we believe that the line is an amenity to the town because it brings to the town the affordable housing, and it also allows other folks along the line to connect in. And so that's, I guess, my summary to your summary, Bill.
Okay. John or Wayne, do you have something to?
Bill, I agree with what you said. I think it's important, given your earlier remarks, Jeffrey, to understand there's a difference between operating costs and the the rates that you pay if you have, and the connection privilege fee. The connection privilege fee is clearly explained in the document. It's consistent with what the Sewer Commission has charged every other customer that is hooked on since those fees were established. They change with time because they're predicated on an earlier cost that has been escalated in accordance with published rates. It's a design-based number. The design basis is fully explained in Coughlin's letter of June 17. There's no confusion about that. All of our terms and conditions are consistent with past practice. We see no reason whatsoever to change that. And you've got all you need to make your decision. I agree with Bill, this could go on forever, and it doesn't make any sense for anybody to continue this process beyond where we are right now. The numbers in Coughlin's letter of June 17th this year are consistent with the numbers that Mr. Stasko quoted in January 3rd, 2019, when we had previous discussions. We are where we are. Make up your mind.
Wayne Sawchuk here. I received a call from Donald on the 22nd, and his first thing out of his mouth was, I need a letter from the board that you denied our sewer application. And I said, Donald, what are you talking about? We denied it. He said, yes, I want a letter saying you denied our application. I said, we have not denied anything. And he said also that it's going to cost him $3+ million to put this in, and that he, in fact, can put his own treatment plant in for a little over $1 million. And I said to him, why don't you put your own treatment plant in for a little over $1 million? And then you're all set. And then he started talking about the town is really supporting this housing, and someone can come in, tomorrow and file a 40B application. Well, in fact, he's probably correct. Someone can come in tomorrow, someone can come in next month, someone can come in 3 months from now, someone could come in on the 1st of December, a month before his seeming deadline is there, and they can file an application. But what does that have to do with me or the Sewer Commission or the rest of the town? Who is forcing you to put these 25 units that would be counted, 5 units that would be actually affordable? How is that entering into this whole picture? And you're using it, Attorney DeLisi, as like the most important thing that we need to let him do whatever he wants or whatever he wants to spend to get this done so that these affordable units are coming in. Secondly, his application keeps going from what's it going to cost him to install it, and he says he has an estimate for $1.2 million or something like that. And I said, where are you going to install this? Why are you paying $500,000 to resurface a street? And it's going to go down, in all likelihood, the shoulder of the road. And then he started saying different things there. And frankly, the water main is on the opposite side of Stop and Shop. So if he went down the inside of the right-of-way, he wouldn't have almost any asphalt except the crossings. So we need not to have Donald call Wayne Sawchuk at home, but in fact to go through the process of the attorneys and use this form. And frankly, you should have engineers on the call to tell us how you want to put this in and where it should go. And then there should be language as to how do we take something that is going to be paid for privately and convey it to the town, and how would we go ahead and give a reimbursement if someone else was to tie in the future. These are things that we should be working on so that if he wants to have the sewer and it's for the needs of a failed system, then we should go ahead and move forward in that direction. That's my comments.
I thought we had an agreement that communication was going to take place with our counsel and with your counsel, Mr. DeLisi. What is this private phone call all about? Why did that happen at all? I don't understand.
I'll have to talk to Donald about that. Mr. Beck is, I was aware that it occurred after it occurred.
You were aware?
After it occurred, I was made aware that it occurred.
Well, it's,
That's not helpful.
yeah, it's troubling. And I also know that somebody made an inquiry of the town manager very soon before or after a conversation with Wayne about why did the board cancel or deny the application. We've never done that.
I have no knowledge of any such inquiry.
Okay, well, I'll get that for you.
I have a couple of comments maybe on a technical base just to address some of the issues or comments that DeLisi has made. The first one was relative to flow and seasonal uses and irrigation. Obviously from a technical base, if you can document the amount of irrigation water that was being used during that period of time, that would be useful. We don't have any data on that. I don't know if you have a second meter or a meter on that system. Typically we do on large irrigation systems. And I don't know if the data is recorded on a regular basis, but that would certainly be useful. Back in that January 3rd, 2019 meeting, Mr. Stasko did indicate that there was seasonal increases in flow at the facility. So I'd be reluctant just to use the winter period, and I expressed that in my letter, because I would suspect, and I've actually seen increased use at the facility appears from both customer base as well as operational functions there. So it would seem that there would be seasonal increase in flow during the summer months. So I mean, obviously, if you have additional information that's documented, you'd certainly be willing to look at it and consider it. In terms of payment strategies and the like, I prefer to the commission. Just generally speaking, the commission has, historically in the last couple of projects stopped at the property line or stopped where it branches out to a single service. In this case, this is going to be a dedicated force main potentially forever. There's a very small possibility people will connect to it. It's there, but it's a small possibility. So essentially, this is a single service being constructed. So, I mean, for the most part, that's consistent with their past policies to basically stop where it branches to a single service. In terms of Attorney Nyland's questions on the breakdown, to my knowledge, there is no breakdown by different categories as he's requesting. This is derived from actual per user costs, and it's extrapolated to dollars based on standard needs. So for the most part, I don't believe there is a breakdown for Attorney Nyland to digest. And I have no comments on the affordable component.
I think one of the things that still is a mystery, and that is what is going to be the occupancy of the new building in terms of calculating future flows. And we wanted to have a handle on that. And if that is just done by the design of the system, which I think was 7,000 gallons a day, which I think Donald said was about 2,000 gallons more than they're really going to use, then that flow, and by the way, he said that he may be putting housing on top of the existing building at 380. 380. And there's an unknown there, and there's an unknown as to what other uses can happen in that building in terms of new restaurants or anything else. So how do you make, you have to come up with a good estimate but I don't, you know, to go ahead and say after the fact that, oh, you know, I'm going to do this and not, you know, and we don't really know what's actually going to get done.
Yeah, Wayne, my understanding is that your document requires the calculation to be on current intended uses. Any additional uses that might come to fruition in the future would provoke a further review by the board, and potentially there would need to be a privilege fee paid at that juncture, right?
Well, yes, but why are we spending so much time on the existing flow I mean, in other words, I guess aren't there like 3 components or 2 components or something? You certainly having history of the flows that are currently going through there, okay? And there are some vacancies, and there are things in building at 380, and I don't know if they are in the calculations. And then you have 390, which is the new building, right? And Stop and Shop is 400, if I get the numbers of the different buildings wrong. So you have Stop and Shop, you have the existing Feng Shui building, and then you have the new building. But so what is the number that both sides agree to in terms of flows?
Well, but isn't that why using Title V should actually be the way to go here? Because Title V takes into account these types of variants, right? So, and your regs require existing uses as determined by Title V. And so,
Yeah, I mean, the intent here is really to define an appropriate maximum day use for the facility. And yeah, typically for smaller facilities, Title V governs. For larger facilities under the state regulations, you're looking in more at how you calculate an underground water discharge permit, which is essentially the same mechanism you'd be using if you did that route. And that's based upon a bunch of different things, but the whole intent is to define most accurately the maximum day flow for the facility. For this type of facility, where it has been existing for a long period of time, you do have, changes in use over its life. So I think it's very appropriate to go back and look at the historical records as far as water consumption, and to use that actual data to define the capabilities or the maximum day potential for this facility. It's not like this is brand new and it never existed before. We do have existing data for 2 of those buildings, and we should be utilizing that to define that flow. So in terms of how we calculate it, I believe the regulations and the board has free rein to find the most appropriate means of doing that. Title V is recommended, but they will also consider what is maybe more appropriate. And for this higher flow, looking at the water use records is a very appropriate method. And you can see the variations that we have, and some of the data are presented in my June 17th letter. So to just simply use Title V and pick a lower flow based upon current and intended uses, in my mind, would be inappropriate, because you do have existing flow data.
but you're also factoring into that, Dan, you're factoring into it the oversized system on the Stop and Shop building, the oversized design on 390. So you have, and you're factoring in the usage of water that's used for irrigation. And I
Right, but that
understand.
hasn't been defined. Like I said, if you have data on the irrigation that would clearly define its use and the amount of water, we'd be certainly willing to entertain that. But just to say it's on irrigation when we know there can be seasonal fluctuations in flow at the facility, is pretty undefined and ambiguous in our mind. So
Yeah, and and I would suspect, and not to interrupt you, Dan, but I will. I would suspect that anybody that has a large area of areable property, which you're watering all the time, would have a second meter or a third meter. And this is not a new concept. And if it's been going on for 10 years and you've had high water bills, that's something that the water department would advocate, get a separate meter so you do not get, it doesn't run through the sewer and you're not charged for it. So you didn't need it because you don't have sewer. I think we're losing track of where we're supposed to be going with this and how we started. I think, and I'm going to remind everyone that the application was presented to this board over a period of time, a year and a half ago, 3 times. And each time it was denied because of reasons given, whether it was precedent, whether it was volume. I'm not going to go through all of them. It was then decided at the beginning of the year that given affordable housing and some other factors, that we would certainly consider the applicant's desire to put a pipe down 3A to Tapella Road. That's what we're doing. We're here to help the applicant get the pipe down 3A to Tapella Road, not to ban, and we're not here to negotiate fund. We have come with a very proven method, something that has been done for every other town resident who has had an application for sewer. We're not doing anything differently. And we're negotiating, how many beans are in the jar rather than what the jar weighs and why can't we get this done? And I think the applicant has to make a decision, as John said. We have done, I have no ill feelings of the efforts, the considerable efforts that the board and Dan and everyone else involved in this have put forth to do this. And we have done it in a very positive, I think, method and methods. And we're here at a crossroads. And to be going over all these little bits and pieces to knock costs off, I don't think is productive, my opinion.
Okay, well, it sounds like I have some discussing with Mr. Stasko, and I guess we'll get back to the commissioners. We appreciate your time today.
And Jeff, I want to reiterate one more time that any communications that are on this subject go between yourself and Attorney Hoffman, please.
Understood. Thank you, Bill.
Anything, Jeff? Anything else?
I have nothing. Thank you.
Okay.
And I don't know who else from my team is on this phone call, and this is your opportunity. Someone is. So I would imagine we're all set. Thank you.
Yep. Okay.
Hello?
Donald?
Oh, hi, Mr. Stasko is on the line.
Okay. Can I make a few clarifications here? When I talked to Wayne a couple weeks ago, I said, will the board give me a letter stating that they want me to pay for the line to go down 3A and to pay a connection fee? That's what I asked him. And what he said earlier is not what I said. Okay? I said, Wayne, would the board give me a letter saying they want me to pay for the sewer line to go down 3A plus pay a connection fee on top of it? So I want to clarify that right now.
All right, this is Wayne.
Yeah.
And Mr. Stasko did say that, but the first things out of Mr. Stasko's mouth was, I want the board to give me a letter saying that we have denied his application for sewer.
I never said that. I never said that. I said, would the board give me a letter stating that they want me to pay for the sewer line and they want me to pay for the connection fee? I never said the board denied me anything. So I want that on the record since this is being taped.
Okay.
So could I ask a question of Mr. Stasko?
Yes.
Do you know why Paul Kearse would have called Chris Senior to say, hey, I've heard that the application has been denied by the sewer board?
I have no knowledge of that.
Okay. Again, for the record, yeah, thanks.
Then we should get Mr. Kearse on the phone if that's the accusation that you're making again.
Well, it's not an act, no, it's, a question was posed to Chris Senior, who asked Michelle Leary, and I sent them all of the information that has been sent to your attorney, including Dan's calculations and our revised agreement. So, and I haven't heard a thing. So,
But
Okay.
what would be wrong with that in any event?
I don't know. I'm just saying, it's just,
It's not uncommon for Mr. Senior to be involved in town matters, right?
probably not, no, but and I don't want to get into a big thing about this right now. It just, in my mind, because this, I'll put it more, let me be a little bit more succinct. The sewer board denied the application 3 times. And that's known by all. Then there was basically an event, a series of events that occurred after that where Mr. Senior was involved. I think there was a Senator Jackson involved, and there were all these other people involved as to how sewer could get, how that site could get connected to sewer, the town sewer. It was when the affordable housing came up, I believe in December, January of 19 or 20, that the board then made a decision. My referencing of that, Jeff, is to specifically say, and I have had conversations with Chris Senior about this, is that it would have been just as easy for him to say to Paul, you know what, call the sewer board and let them answer it rather than doing it. Yes, you're right. He can do stuff on his own. He can do whatever he wants on his own. I have no jurisdiction over that. But in this kind of a thing, when we're in the process of a negotiation, to have somebody outside of this group right here asking questions about this and then saying the same thing that Mr. Stasko said to Wayne about that we killed this thing or denied it, the visual isn't correct in my mind.
For one thing, I've never said that you denied it. And for another thing, could you show me when I applied 3 times to the board? Because I have no recollection of any application ever made. So if you have it, could
So I may have had the wrong word. Okay, so pardon my semantics.
But since this is being taped, you're saying that I made 3 applications to the board. I have no recollection with it.
So you did not bring up plans of a line that would go over Peppermint Brook? And
I've never made an application.
Well, okay, my mistake. You then brought plans and an idea for a potential sewer line that would run either down Sawyer Street, number 1, Peppermint Brook, number 2, and 3A, number 3. So
That's correct.
I am at fault if I use the word application in a generic manner.
Well, you did. Okay.
I know I did. That's why I said sorry.
Okay, all right. Here's where I am. We have what Title V says, according to your regulations, it should be the gallons per day. And it comes in, according to the 3 buildings, it's 16,608 gallons per day, 440 GPD for EDUs, comes out to $1,415,454.50. I have no issue with that, okay? I have no issue with that. And if the sewer line could be put down 3A for $600,000, then I owe the board $800,000 as a connection fee. I have no issue with that. Okay. I think to move the thing forward, we need to come up with a number of what the usage is. Now, Mr. Coughlin, we went back and got 10 years water department records. And from October to March, because the sprinkler system is shut off in September, the sprinkler system is put back on in April. I'll get a letter from the person that does that that they've been doing it for the last 15 years. We don't have a separate water meter for the sprinkler system. We just have a meter for both buildings. but I'll get a letter from the person that handles that, say, we shut it off in September and we put it back in April. And we have the Cohasset Water Department's records of how much water use is using during that period. We did a calculation that over that 10-year period, which we were full occupancy, the 380 building had 2,465 gallons per day, and Stop and Shop was 2,102. But that has nothing to do with what my cost is to pay for the sewer based on Title V. And in the future, if a use is put in there that's going to require more than what Title V says we need, then I would have to pay the sewer commission what that dollar amount would be. So we don't have any restaurants planned for the 390 building, but say a restaurant goes in there and its water usage is a lot more according to Title V, then I would have to pay the commission that difference at that point in time. And I'm willing to do that. I have no issue with that. My issue is, do I have to pay for the sewer line plus a connection fee? And I have no issue paying $1,420,000 and the sewer line only costs $600,000, then I write a check to the sewer commissioner of the town of Cohasset for $800,000. I have no issue with any of that.
Well, I do with what you just said. And my issue is very simple. There is no reason the sewer commission should be spending other people's money to build a pipe from the pump station to your private property, period. That's your cost, not other people's cost.
But I have no issue with paying for the sewer pipe from my property to the pump station.
Yeah, but you want it deducted from your connection privilege fee, and
Right.
that's not going to happen
Okay.
as long as I have a vote.
Okay.
I just want you
That's,
to understand
no,
what
no.
my position is.
okay.
No.
That's what I wanted to hear. And Attorney Hoffman can put that in writing to us. That's all I
You've
need to
got
know.
it in writing. You've got everything for the terms and conditions that are in the connection service agreement. You've had it for some time. So it's up to you. It's your decision. That's my position.
By the way, if you want the board's opinion, I am not in favor of paying for the private line going down 3A and deducting it from any other fees that you're paying. I just don't think that's the right thing to do. It isn't fair. We don't do it for anybody else. And I think if publicly, if we were to say to all the other ratepayers that we're going to pay to run a pipe down 3A to hook up Stop and Shop Plaza, they would say, what are you talking about? How could you do that?
Yeah, I agree.
So, and just to be clear, you all consider this a private line, despite the fact that it would be in the layout of Route 3A. And despite the fact that,
Just to be clear, the only reason it's being constructed is to serve Mr. Stasko's private property.
no, it would be for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's more environmentally sound to do a sewer versus a wastewater treatment facility that discharges to the ground. That's number one. And then number two, it's a public service amenity that Mr. Stasko's project is given to the town, which is the affordable housing. And that's what allows your board to extend the sewer district beyond what's on your map.
I understand. Thank you for the lesson.
Okay.
But I think, Jeffrey, I think one of the problems is the value of those 5 units of subsidized housing.
Not 5.
Call it 25 if you want to call it.
Okay, I just want to be, it's every single residential unit in the building would count towards the town's affordable housing inventory in this context
Right.
because.
It counts, okay?
Yep.
But if you were running something just for that building, just for that housing, that might be considered. But when you're doing it to go to the Stop and Shop and the other buildings and anything else that might happen in the future, now where is the relationship, the cost relationship to what the return is?
Well, I guess,
What is it?
it's the environmental, it's the environment. I mean, your own agreement goes to lengths that you drafted to indicate that the reason why this is something that the commissioners are willing to even consider is because of the savings to the environment. That's what in sum and substance what I read from your decision, and that would be my response to you very respectfully, Wayne.
Right, but of course that the reason for that is to give the sewer commission the ability to be able to do this without having to go before town meeting and expanding the sewer district. So the idea that we're putting in a sort of a public sewer down 3A is not, and I said this at the last call, we can't, that then makes it so that we're expanding the sewer district. When we didn't go before town meeting and have the voters and stuff like that decide whether or not they want to do this.
When I sat with town council in 2019 in order to try to fashion a citizen's petition to offer to town meeting previously,
Right.
town council looked at me and said, you don't need to do this because the Board of Sewer Commissioners has the ability to do this. And he explained to me the special legislation that was enacted that allows that. So, that's where, I said, well, that makes all the sense in the world. And the fact that we're sitting here having this conversation, we appreciate the fact that you're here and you're considering our proposals. We're happy for that, and I think the town of Cohasset benefits from it.
Town council,
and we would be in the same position, right? If we went to town meeting, we'd be having this exact same discussion over cost, essentially, right? So I appreciate your comment. That's how I view it.
okay, but I think the point that I was making is that the discussions that you likely had were dealing with the Stop and Shop property, not the property going along 3A that then would conceivably be in a district that conceivably would be connected by other people. And I think when that petition or that article was going to go before, I'm not sure it was for this route, but maybe a different route.
It wasn't. There's a subdivision out kind of behind Stop and Shop. I forget the name of the road.
Right.
And that's connected to town sewer. And the proposal was to run a line from there over town land,
Right.
which contains some kind of brook or stream, and underneath that stream to the Stop and Shop property as a fully private line. The cost of doing that is at great variance with the cost of going through Route 3A up to the sewer pump station.
Right, but you were going to pay the cost of that, your applicant, your client was, without any questions. And your client also said, if I have to go up Sawyer Street, then we'll put a pump station on 3A, we'll go up Sawyer Street, go down, and we'll do that if you want. You just tell us what you want to do. And so in that instance, I think it's probably more clear that you would not be extending the sewer district. Really, you'd be serving that initial thing.
Would the commissioners entertain a proposal similar to the prior proposal before the commissioners back in 2019 over town property? Is that something?
That was that was shot down. Maybe even Chris did it, but town property was not something, we told that was a non-starter.
Okay. All right. Well, I, for one, and I know I'm speaking on Donald's behalf as well, is, just again, want to thank the board. John, I didn't mean to be speaking in a manner that clearly you thought I might have been schooling you a little bit. As a lawyer, I'm looking at your regulations and I see the word shall, and then I see use Title V, and I focus on that. And the purpose, the benefit to the town, not to Donald. You seem to be very focused on the Stop and Shop property, but the benefit to the town, as I see it, is twofold. One would be the affordable housing component, that amenity, right? And the other would be environmental. Anything else is probably not a benefit to the town as a whole. I understand that. So looks like Donald and I have some discussions with Attorney Nyland, and we appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Is that all for today?
Yeah, we have a couple more items, but
Does Donald have any more questions?
No.
Okay.
All right, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, next up, we have the sewer discussion. I have a Revels Inc. on the line. I'm not sure what Revels Inc. is here to talk about.
I think it's select person Kennedy on the line.
Yes, Carrie's on the line too. If you could put it in the question and answer, please, what subject you were here to discuss? There we go. Oh, it's Miss Diane Kennedy. She's just listening. 59 Jerusalem Road Drive. Thank you. All right, so regional sewer discussion.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have not done my letter yet, and I haven't submitted my homework that I said I would do last week. So hopefully I'll get a chance to do that the next day. And then I'll send it to you guys and to the board to review, and then we can either submit it directly to the town manager of Situate or to Chris and have him submit it to him. And we can discuss that at our next meeting.
This is Chris, by the way. I've been sitting here throughout the prior conversation. The selectmen are likely to ask for some kind of public conversation based on our prior meeting in July, August, to talk about regional sewer. So I'll make sure that we're all plugged in to those bigger conversations. I know the Master Plan Implementation Committee will be meeting with the board in July and talking about their thoughts about this. So I expect that we're going to try to pull together some kind of a meeting with all the interested boards and committees for later in the summer to talk about the whole process on the regional sewer question, gentlemen.
So,
Chris, I didn't know that you were on the line. The back and forth with Mr. Stasko about Paul Kears contacting you, was I accurate in that?
I didn't respond to any of it, Bill. I just stayed out of it. So, people can contact me about anything they do. I don't interject myself into matters, commission matters, so I didn't. I did ask for an update as to what was going on. Michelle happened to be in my office. I wasn't sure where things were, so she got me the materials. I mean, it was actually about as routine as it gets.
No, that's all I was saying. So, I mean, I just wanted it, it just was coincidental that Paul called you the same time, approximately the same time that Donald called Wayne with the same, you know, how come the application was denied?
I you know, I'm not characterizing the conversation I had with anyone. Okay, I got a constituent call. I asked Michelle, who happened to be in my office. She got me some updates,
Yep.
so I knew roughly what was going on. And affordable housing remains a very big priority of the Board of Selectmen. So obviously, I'm monitoring it for that purpose. That development site, particularly for that purpose. So yeah. So again, I did not engage in your conversation with the applicant.
Okay.
So.
That's fine.
So, John Beck, Chris, do I understand that we'll have an opportunity to participate in the preparation of an agenda to have a quote town discussion end quote about the regional sewer business?
Yeah, we're expecting the master plan committee, implementation committee, to meet with the Board of Selectmen to go over their objectives. I mean, their charge is to, you know, work through the master plan and all the goals that are set out in it. And I think the expectation is to pull together a meeting with the board that are most actively engaged, and sewer obviously is one of them. And we'll figure out the structure of the meeting and what we're talking about. So yes, the short answer to my long answer is yes.
Your answer was yes?
Yeah, so yeah, the sewer commission will be engaged in that conversation, yes.
No, I don't mean the conversation. I'm talking about preparing an agenda.
Yeah, the whole structure of the meeting, John, we'll be talking with all the boards together about, like what's the purpose of the meeting and all of it. Yes, so yes.
Okay.
The point of the meeting is going to be discussed with everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think we're okay. I think we're okay with that. How about grinder pump? Are we pretty much getting, and Rod, you can hang in on this one?
Yeah, I don't have any particular update. I've been working on documentation, but I will, I'll get it out the next week, I think.
Okay,
So what we're looking for is the letter that will go out to each of the affected individuals.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
yeah, and I think, John, the thing we have to do with that is with the letter, we should also have some sort of, as we've discussed, manual telling people where to go and all, you know, what the process is and, you know, all that kind of stuff.
The ABCs of what the new world is going to be like for those who have
Yeah,
enjoyed
exactly.
the pleasure of having town-owned grinder pumps.
Yes, indeed.
Actually in the process of putting together like a user's manual that we can send them as well. And Mahoney is sending me some updated alerts.
Okay. Yeah, I think something that we could do, like a 2-pager, very simple, you know, this is what happens if your sewer, you know, like don't use the toilet, you know, things like that. So,
Grinder pumps for dummies, is that what you're saying?
no, I won't say that, no.
I love my grinder pump.
That's why you put it in your house so you can look at it every day.
Yeah, well, I can hear it clearly. I know when it's working and when it's not.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so do we have any other business that anyone wants to float while we're here?
Next meeting.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm wondering if we should have a meeting next week, because I suspect we're going to hear from Attorney DeLisi within the next day or 2 or 3. You know, do you want to do something next week or wait 2 weeks?
I just want to make sure I clearly understand that the ball is in their court to decide what to do with the service agreement.
Yeah, and I can tell you I have a little bit of heartburn with them bringing up the water, because if we're using Title V instead of water consumption, why? So, but we'll leave that to them to come back to us and see what they say. So,
Okay.
all right.
Rod,
Wayne,
any
yeah.
observations?
Well, whoever made the comment that we do have something in writing that tells them the position of the board is absolutely correct. That was a June 18th draft of the agreement. And I was thinking to just get back to Delisi by an email, just say, that draft is the commission's position, and work from that.
Yeah, I'm curious why Donald needs to have a specific letter stating that from the board.
Yeah, exactly.
I can go in all different directions on that one.
No, it
Yeah,
gives him a letter to hold, and that's his. He can ask for what he wants, but we have put in writing, very detailed writing, what the position is. So I'm good.
That's precisely why.
Yeah, exactly. So you'll send that to Attorney DeLisi?
Well, he has it and has acknowledged it.
Oh, okay.
And I would just confirm that is the board's sum and substance.
Good.
Yeah.
Should I follow up with the underlying data that Dan worked from? I said Michelle had prepared that for me.
Well, this is that data is what, water consumption, things of that nature?
Yep.
I mean, we've already given them water data. Is it any different than what we've given to them in the past? I don't know. I haven't seen it.
Dan?
Yeah, I mean, you were asking for some point information, but I mean, for the most part, everything is in the calculation. They gave him the whole table of flow, so he can beat that up as well. I mean, if he has some additional points for clarification, I say just put it in writing,
Yeah, he has your letter of 17 June.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and maybe that's just it, Rod, that if they have specific questions on specific areas, then, have them ask and we'll see what we can do.
Okay. Will do.
Next meeting?
You want to wait 2 weeks, or Wayne, what do you feel like?
You guys do it, whatever, and then I'll plan for it. 2 weeks is
14.
2 weeks is the 14th, yeah. Oh, yeah, on a Tuesday, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I can do the 14th.
Yes, me too. 10 o'clock?
Yeah.
And the agenda, what would you like on the agenda?
Well, I presume CJC will be there.
Regional?
I think you leave the agenda as it is, because
Okay.
hopefully by that time, I'll have my letter to the board on the regional piece. We'll have Rod's information on the grinder pump easement, so we'll just leave it the same way unless somebody wants to change it.
Yeah, sounds good.
And I will tell Delisi, I'm confirming that the connection agreement is the position. I will also confirm that our next meeting is scheduled for the 14th.
Good. Unless they want to sign before then.
Don't be naughty, Mr. Beck.
That was,
All right. Well, anyone, I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you, guys. Good meeting.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. Have a
See ya.
good day.
Bye.